Hi, this is my ridiculous story. I'd like to first say that you don't have to feel bad if you don't really believe me because I struggle so much with believing it too. I wasn't alone though. My best friend also saw it and she struggles just as much as I do with not believing what we saw. I'm almost 60 years old and I'm a wildlife and landscape photographer from East Tennessee. I'm from Townsend, which is located in the Smoky Mountains, and I no longer live in that location where this happened, but I'm still close by. On the night of the new moon in July of 2018, my best friend Deb came to my house around 11:30 p.m. because we were going to go up the hill from my house to an empty rental cabin to take pictures of the Milky Way over the rich mountain. I know it was the night of the new moon because that's the best night of the month for night sky photography since the moon won't wash out the light from the stars. If you stood on the road where you turn onto my driveway, it actually looks like you're turning into the driveway of the rental cabin because we shared that driveway. You pull into that rental and curve left down our long gravel driveway to the mobile home we lived in before we moved into our house where we are now. It's straight across the street. The rental cabin is what locals have always called the shale pit. It's just an empty lot, about an acre or two big. There's a family from Townsend who owns it and they use it to dig up shale for new driveways of houses. And that was their business. They built new driveways, but their part was just to dig it up and lay the shale. They also let the national park bring trees there to use the space to burn them after they collected them when we had bad storms, strong winds, or heavy snow. There wasn't a house there or any form of structure, just a big lot with a couple of backhoes for digging. They did put a small mobile home on the lot for the owner's grandson, but that didn't happen until 2020 during the pandemic. Okay, here it goes. Deb and I had taken our car up the driveway to the rental cabin and we parked it right in front, and her car was parallel to the road. The road was about 10 yards from the car and the entrance to the shale pit was across the one-lane road we lived on, so about 10 more yards. That means 20 yards total from the car into the entrance of the shale pit. We set our tripods up and had each taken a couple of shots of the night sky when I heard what sounded like tires on gravel somewhere down the road at the river. You have to cross a bridge over the river to get to my old house and all houses on that road. The shale pit included, of course. I said out loud to her, "Someone is at the river." I can't remember if she heard it. And just a few seconds later, we heard a loud truck that sounded like it was crossing a bridge and starting up my road. It might be a quarter mile from the bridge to my driveway, probably less. We can hear that truck, and the truck was really going slow and it sounded like it was really old and barely running. I asked Deb if she locked her car since we were on the back side of the cabin and we couldn't see it from there. She said she hadn't. Deb has $1,000 worth of camera gear and she had a lot of it with her that night. Without speaking, we both took our cameras off our tripods and carried them and the tripods back to the car to lock it up. I don't remember why we brought it all with us. I think we both just had a weird feeling about that truck. I know I definitely did. I don't even know what to say other than it sounded like it was creeping around our area because it was going extremely slow. I could have walked as fast as that truck was going. We got back to our car. We sat our stuff in the back seat right as the truck got to where it was even with the cabin and us. It was a dark colored truck, and it looked like it had to have been something like a Chevy S10, maybe back in the 70s or the 80s. We couldn't see who was driving it or how many people were in it. The truck stopped and turned into the driveway to the cabin, which means it was also turning into my driveway. It only got 2 wheels onto the property when it stopped and backed up across the street into the entrance of the shale pit. Its lights was shining directly into our eyes. It just sat there with its loud and sad motor running. Deb asked me, "What the hell are they doing?" And I said, "I don't know what they're doing, but they're starting to piss me off because they know they're blinding us with their headlights." I waited about 10 more seconds before I reached into my pocket and pulled out my mag light flashlight and turned the dial around the bulb to high beam. Then I turned it on and pointed it right at the truck. I had intended on shining my obnoxiously bright flashlight at them until they turned their headlights off or drove away. Well, they did turn off their headlights, and in turn, I turned off my flashlight. They didn't turn off the motor though. This was kind of creepy, and it kind of made my stomach churn because I thought I had pissed them off, and we were all the way up at the empty rental cabin after midnight and my husband was all the way down at the house asleep. The truck stayed there for about another half a minute, and then it finally turned off its motor, and it was gone. Yes, I swear upon everything that I've ever loved that truck just wasn't there anymore. We didn't see it fade away. It didn't turn off like a light switch or a television. It just wasn't there anymore. Then Deb and I both did something totally out of character for two old ladies. We ran to where the truck had been sitting. I couldn't say a word, but Deb, well, she yelled over and said, "What the What did I just see? What the hell did I just see?" I told her to stop screaming so I can call Jack, my husband. I was hysterical. I told him to get up and get up to the hill as fast as he could. He also drove up instead of walking, and he was there in less than 2 minutes. I told him a very short version of what happened, and he went across the street to the shale pit and pulled in as far as he could. It was just dirt and rock. There aren't even any trees there since they dug in that area. The only trees that are there are the ones the park brings when they burn them, and there wasn't even any of those there at that time. He came back across the street and said that there was nobody there or nothing over there except for 2 backhoes. They must have left and y'all just didn't see them leave. Then we explained the whole thing again, and he realized that they couldn't have left without us seeing them since we was just standing right in front of them. So we went back over there on foot this time with my flashlight since it had the high beam setting on it. Again, he came back and said there was nothing there. He said he even looked inside of the cabs of the backhoes just in case. There's actually a ridge above the shale pit lot, but it's vertical and about 100 feet high. This 1 acre of lot is literally just dirt and rock with nowhere to go or nowhere to hide, even for a person, let alone a whole truck. We didn't even take pictures. We went back down to the house and Jack went inside. I was outside with Deb and she said, "Kelly, there's no need to go in there and try to convince him of what we just saw. It's ridiculous and you can't expect him to believe you. It'll cause an argument. We saw what we saw, but no one is ever going to believe us." And now, we don't even believe us. We talk about it sometimes and laugh about it, but it really isn't funny at all. Because even though we know what we saw, what did we see? If it were a scary movie, you would think the truck would turn the motor off first, then leave the headlights on and then disappear. But no, it turned its lights off and we can clearly see the truck sitting just yards away from us. The motor goes off and it's like I blinked and it was gone. Maybe even less than a blink. How can an inanimate object be a ghost? I'm not sure if I even believe in ghosts at all, but I saw that truck disappear. As I typed those words, I full on understand how ridiculous and stupid it sounds. But it happened. But I don't even believe it. It's a weird place to be in, and Deb is in that exact place. I believe in God, so I guess that means I believe in the supernatural since God is supernatural. But I don't believe in disappearing trucks. But the one I saw disappeared. Can anyone understand what I'm saying? I don't believe what I saw, but I saw it. It drives me crazy. Pun intended. I had something weird happen to me when I left work today around 4 a.m. There's one stretch of road that I take home that's usually void of people at that time of night. It's a 4-lane road with a turning lane down the middle. All that's on this road is a small airport on one side and a small swamp on the other. I turn onto this road driving like normal, fully paying attention because sometimes deer like to jump out of nowhere. It's completely empty, no other cars in sight, totally straight road with no curves, and in the best way I can describe it, a man just materialized out of thin air walking in the center turning lane about 10 feet ahead of me. There's no way on earth I wouldn't have been able to see him sooner, with absurdly bright headlights and absolutely nothing else around me. I didn't get a great look at him since he showed up so suddenly, and by the time I even registered it in my brain, I was already flying past him. All I could tell was it looked like a middle-aged black man with a red jacket on, and he had maybe one of those wheeled suitcases or bags he was kind of dragging behind him. I literally hit the brakes and was looking for him in my mirrors because he was very close to my car, and I was scared that I might hit the guy or something. I didn't even see anything or anyone behind me. As fast as he appeared, he was gone. I ended up pulling a U-turn because I wanted to make sure I wasn't losing my mind. Keep in mind, there's absolutely nowhere for this guy to even go on in the 30 seconds it took me to go slow down and turn around. On one side of the road, there's a fence around the airport runways, and on the other is an empty gravel lot and a ditch. There's no man anywhere. Anyway, either I lost my mind as first thought, or there's ghost hitchhikers. Hi, I've never posted here before. I'm not sure where to start because I can write a book about all of my experiences. I don't necessarily want my post to blow up. I am more so looking for other people's opinions. Let me preface with this. I'm mortified of dolls. Porcelain, little baby dolls. Sometimes even just teddies or toys. Dolls make me want to exit my body from fear. Now, this is leading up to why. I grew up in an extremely haunted duplex. This duplex could have a book written behind it. What I'm explaining doesn't even touch the surface. It's just grazing. You see, I have very little memory of this duplex since I was about 6 or 7. My family lived there for about 2 years, but it felt like an eternity. I have a couple of memories, most of which being paranormal. But because I remember so little, I've been really wondering, did something happen with the doll that I've repressed? I'm sure a lot of people have family members who gift the new babies in the family a porcelain doll. I was born in '95. No idea if people still give newborn porcelain dolls or if it's just a Greek thing. Either way, I had this porcelain doll in a light blue dress, white frills, curly blonde hair, attached to a swing. She never came out of the box until I was around 10 or so. I also loved the big comfy couch. I had the little Molly doll with the plastic head, yarn hair, and stuffed body. She had these cardboard pieces you can put in as a bow or a thought bubble or something. I was obsessed with Molly growing up. She was my favorite doll when I was really small. I don't remember playing with her, but my mom said she was glued to me. She definitely looked very loved. I just don't remember. Anyways, sorry it was so winded already. So after moving into my new home, years and years go by, and I am digging through my Teddy's toy box. I find Molly, and I'm excited. I have always slept with her far too much on my bed. Even to this day, my bed is all pillows, squishmallows, and a massive body pillow. I felt connected to Molly all of a sudden. She stayed on the corner of my bed, against the wall and bed frame. She stayed like that for a few months, until I started having these nightmares. If you had a messed up dream, you know where you're in someone's house, but it isn't how the house is necessarily set up. It was like that. My cousin's bedroom was where my uncle's bedroom was. Remember, this is a dream. I'd walk into my cousin's bedroom, and Molly would kind of lay sitting against my cousin's pillow. The room was pink and purple, very girly. The sun was setting. The room looked pretty. I entered the room and my attention was immediately drawn to Molly. I feel so uncomfortable and on edge. By the point I'm walking into the room, I have this nauseating, horrible feeling hit me. Anxiety hits hard. I couldn't look away from Molly, when suddenly, of course, she slowly stands, starts facing away from me. She's looking to my right, straight ahead. She levitates up and starts to turn towards me. The room goes dark, and I'm sprinting to the light switch. I couldn't find it. Once I do, it doesn't work. I grab the door and I feel her behind me. I throw the door open and run down my uncle's hallway. I turn and she is floating behind me. My grandmother, my dad's uncle, mom, is at the end of the hallway. She isn't dead, by the way. I run to her. Her eyes are red and she's just staring ahead. I'm screaming at her to do something. And then I jolt awake. I sprinted to my light switch, terrified that it wouldn't turn on. She was on my bed when this first started happening. Remember, I had that dream a few times now. Each time, some stuff altered, but it was always the same, until I got fed up with these dreams, this loophole. I jumped down my uncle's stairs that passed the hallway. There were 20 steps when I dived down. When I dived down, my head hit the ceiling part that leads you down to the stairs. I'm pretty sure I broke my neck or something, but the last thing I had in that dream, I dove down the stairs and died. After these reoccurring nightmares, I tied Molly into a pillowcase and threw her under my bed. I still didn't feel safe, so she ended up in a crawl space. When my family moved nearly 10 years later, my mom took her out of the crawl space and I started to cry, like laugh cry. But because I was so uncomfortable, I ended up giving her away. Turns out those Molly dolls can cost a lot of money nowadays. The duplex I lived in had a demonic entity. It approached me as my childhood dog when I lived in a duplex. I don't know if the demonic entity tortured me via toys, dolls. Now the porcelain doll. I had her on my wall, hanging on her swing, but I would stare at her all night, expecting her to turn her head, float, or even crawl to me. The stereotypical movie horror stuff. I ended up throwing her in something and into this crawl space. I got rid of her too. I know it's rude since it was a baby gift, but I cannot stand dolls. Good evening, everyone. This is Yuri K, and this is the end of the video. Please leave a comment and let us know your opinions on the matter. If you happen to like this content, please check out our other videos. Make sure you like and share amongst your friends and family to help our community grow. You happen to be new to this channel? Please make sure you subscribe. It's free and you can always change it in the future. You have some terrifying story suggestions? If so, make sure that you send it to my email, fearofthedarkstories@gmail.com, and I'll feature it in a future segment. But you guys stay safe out there, and remember to always be afraid of the dark.